Today's class, we're actually going to start with React and then we go into detail for that. So today's going to be a very important class. Prior to that, we'll just talk about arrow functions. Won't take much time, 10-15 minutes at max. Then React component. What is React? What is a framework? Difference between framework, library, etc., etc. Then we're going to talk about what projects we're going to make and how to install React and start with the very first project. Okay. Overview of React, that is what we're going to start today. One more thing, I would like to cover React with the project itself, so we don't have to talk about React and then we switch to the project. So parallelly, we'll be driving for the project. And while we're going for the project, parallelly, we can start with the React demo. Okay, so we'll be learning React via the projects, which helps us understand many other aspects. So you can see how in your real life world, React applications are used to generate web pages, SPAs, WPAs, single page application, multi-page application, routes, etc. How it is implemented in real life. So when the projects we'll be making real life projects. Example, Netflix, YouTube, Spotify, which are pretty much built upon React only. We can go with Facebook loan also, but it's too heavy to build. But yeah, in order to understand the React application implementation, these four three projects are sufficient enough. And that's how we are targeting to finish our course within the next month. So at 3 projects which I'm targeting, one project you can take as custom, any project that you want to make. And that's it. 4 projects are sufficient enough to cover in React. Now, moving on to the quick revision, what you have discussed in the last class, we first start with the common interview question, which is console.log. 3 to 1, it gives the output as true. Sorry, this gives the output as false, this gives the output as true. Why is it so? Because it executes from left to right and it has to typecast it to same type. So 3 greater than 2, it's a Boolean expression that would be true. True greater than 1. Right now, true means 1 and false means 0, right? In programming. So 1 greater than 1 false, output y false. 1 less than 3, output true, so output is true. So that is how you're going to get the output. Then we talked about JavaScript string search functions. We're continuing from that. The use case is if I have to check if a string is contained in another string, or if I have to check if a string is substring of another string, right? Substring of another string. Now, in terms of what are the different string search functions, we talked about index of already. It gives me the first occurrence of the index. This is the string. This gives me the first occurrence. In that case, output will be -1. What happens if we give it a second parameter? If we give it a second parameter, it starts searching from that position. Okay. Then we have last index of. Last index of gives you the last occurrence of the string. Doesn't exist, give you -1. Second parameter gives me the ending position for search. Okay. In last class, we started with search as a function. Search as a function, it returns the index of the first occurrence, right? Pretty much similar to what index of does. But the only difference is index of contains a second parameter, which tells you where to start from. Search does not contain a second parameter, means search will always search from the beginning. Common sense, right? Fourth function is match. It returns an array containing the match. My null if no match found. So if I do this str.match high, wherever high is found, it will return with this. If I div with small high, I mean h and I and then g and I, in this case, I have using flag globally and case insensitive. It will not give me the string what you are searching. It will give you the string which is present matching that searching, right? So it will give you this high and this small high. So capital Hi and then small hi. Then same for this one, you will get all 3 highs. Okay. So it can divide into strings also. So since it is searching, so even if it is a substring, not just as a word, it is going to find out, give you the output. It returns the array from the original string, not from the search string. Part number 1, return the substring, not the complete string for search value. For example, high will not be returned, only hi will be returned. Then fifth function is include, which returns a Boolean. So similar to dot contains in Java. What does that mean? If a particular string is parent or not, the output will be true or false accordingly. So in this case, output false, this case, output true. It contains a second parameter to include where to start from the search. So it can tell you where to search from. And then we talked about our data structure in JavaScript. Then we don't need to go much data structure in JavaScript. Arrays is sufficient enough. Map we are going to use, map reduce and all that we are going to use in our implementation of React so that we can take it there itself. But in terms of overall arrays in JavaScript, overall data structure in JavaScript, we just completed arrays and sets. Now, in terms of array, this is how you create an array. So array is a combination of same type of data elements. But in this case, there is data type. It can be anything. It can be ultimately everything is an object. So if you're keeping it as a string, as a number, that is fine. I can keep it in my array. So here is initialize the array, array 0, array 1. That is how you print the array. That is how you print array.length, size of the array. Array 0 means accessing the first element. Array n-1 means accessing the last element. You can change the elements of the array. Arrays are mutable, so you can anyway change the like anyways you can change the arrays. Console.log array 0, this will print the updated element. If you have to traverse an array, what you will do, just like you do in a simple any other programming language, calculate the length, traverse over all the values, and then print the values in that array, right? Now, if you do console.write, then by default, it always prints in the next line. If I don't want to print in the next line, then what I can do? I can do process.stdout.write, and it always prints in the same line. Like this. Okay. Then what? If you have to add the elements, you can do array.push. It will always push at the end or add the element at the end. Sorting this is important one. How do you sort? If you do by default, you do array2.sort. If you do array2.sort, you will get output like this: 100, 2, 32, 4, 5. Obviously, this is not ascending order, neither this is a descending order. So what is this? What is this output that I'm getting when I do array.sort in JavaScript? This output that you're getting is, it is treating it like a string, or even if it is treating it like a number, it is just comparing based upon lexicographical order. Means only the first character is being compared. So if you look at this, 100, 2. Ideally, 100 is much more than 2, right? So it should be 2 and 100. But the way JavaScript sees is the first character is 1 and the first character is 2. First character is 3. First character is 4 and 5. No matter if it is 1,000 or a million, it just looks at the first character 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is how it sorts it, which is incorrect way. If I want to do it in a correct way, means I want to do it in ascending order. So let's put it ascending order. If I actually want to do it in the ascending order, what do I need to do is I need to modify it using a comparator. So I have to write a function a comma b and then returning a minus b. What does this function a comma b does? Let's try to understand this piece of code. When you compare two values a and b, three cases are possible: either a greater than b, or a less than b, or equal to b. When you say a greater than b, this is going to be positive, so b is going to put before a. If you put a less than b, then it's going to be negative, a is going to put before b. And if a is equal to b, in that case a minus b will be 0. Both will be put at the same place in chronological order. For example, if you have two duplicates, 5, 4, 2, 32, 100, and then 2, in that case first two will appear first, followed by the second two, right? Now, in this that we discussed, so if I do a minus b, that will give me the sorted array, as you can see. If I do b minus a, that will give me the descending order, which is the sorted array in the descending order. Okay, that is how you actually do in sorting in JavaScript. Post that, we start with the array methods and functions. What are the common methods, what are the common functions in arrays that I should be aware of? First operation is the shift operation. What is that shift operation? Means it deletes from the beginning. You shift the array to the left, means you delete it from the beginning. It returns a deleted element from beginning of the array. Okay, let's take a look. Array equal to this, I do answer.shift. The moment you do array.shift, whatever you have deleted, the first element that will be put as a type of answer, which is Devang. Now your array will be modified. Repeating it again, strings are immutable, arrays are mutable. Means any operation that you're doing it on a string, that will generate a new string because they're immutable. Any operation you're doing it on an array that is mutable, means it will actually modify your original array. So original array is modified here, so you'll get only Sharma as the output. Okay, the first value is deleted. Unshift, it adds to the beginning, so exactly opposite of shift. Shift removes from the beginning and unshift adds to the beginning, right? Returns the length of the new array. So this is the original array. You do array.unshift hey. So the moment you do array.unshift hey, answer will return what? It will return the length of the new array. So it is n size, so n plus 1 will be the output. 2 size, output will be 3. Then you do console.log array, you return the modified original array. This is hey there function. Then we talked about third function, which is toString. Now what is contained in the toString? Let's talk about that. ToString converts an array to string. The important change is it changes the type to string also, right? So if you look at Devang Sharma 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the moment I do array.toString, I will get the output like this. It is converted into string. And if I do answer of the array, you will see the output of the array. It changes the type to string. Repeating this again. Join, you can join an array by the formatter. Any format you can use: space, column, semicolon, etc., percentage modulus, anything that you want to use. Okay. Console.log. Now this is your original array, which is joined by a space, and this was the original array. Then we talked about a bonus interview question. What happens in the case of a concat? In terms of a concat operation, if we do this, concat operation we have seen in terms of string. What will happen in terms of an array if I do concat operation, right? In terms of a concat operation, if I say array1.concat hey, means it's just going to append it. And second, it's very much similar to array1.push. And if I try to concatenate two arrays, it's just going to combine it into a one single array of a string, Devang and Sharma. Okay. Repeating again, concat is a string function, not an array function. Then we talked about next data structure, which is set in JavaScript. The use case of set is to store unique values only, and no matter what language you implement it. The code for in terms of JavaScript is this: you define let s equal to new set. You add the values like this, a, b, c, and a, console.log s. You will still see the output as ABC. Size will remain 3 only. In terms of an array, if you put a, b, c, and a, the size will become 4, and array of obviously can have duplicates. Set cannot override the existing values. However, map will override the existing values, right? So corresponding to a key, if you have different value, it will update with a different value in case of a map. Duplicate values, if I have to check, if size of the array is greater than size of set, means it contains duplicate. All values are unique. In that case, size of array will become size of set. Then finally, we talked about the last functions, which are splice and slice functions in the arrays. These are important ones, so let's talk about it. What does splice function do? As we have understood, we have different operations like push and unshift. If I have to insert an element at the end in an array, I can use push. If I have to insert an element at the beginning of the array, I can use unshift, right? But if I want to add any number of values, not just one element, first of all, two things. I don't want to add only one element. I want to add multiple elements, part one. Part two, I don't want to add it at the end or add at the bottom, at the end or at the beginning. I want to add a random index, which I want to create. I don't have any function for that, right? Unshift cannot provide me, push cannot provide me. That's why we have a function called splice function. So whenever you want to add any number of values at a particular index in an array, that is where you go for splice function. Okay. That's what I just covered. Push adds at one value at the end, unshift adds one value at the beginning. But this can add any number of value at any particular position you want to add. Now, first thing, it adds new elements to the array. Second, the first parameter is position where element should be added. Next, you have the second parameter, how many values you want to add. And last parameter is define the elements to be added. So, and it returns the number of array values deleted. So now we talked about 5 test cases. Test case number 1, this was my original array. What did I say? At index 2, I want to delete one position and I want to insert Tutort Academy. Repeating it again, index 2 means 0, 1, 2. Index 2 is coding. You want to delete one position, so coding will be deleted. What do you want to insert? You want to insert Tutort Academy. So output will become hello world Tutort Academy. And what have you deleted? You have deleted the coding. So in the output you got, you deleted the coding and your final output is hello world Tutort Academy. Okay. Test case number 2, 1, 0 Tutort Academy. Go to index 1, delete 0 element. So go to index 1, which is world. Delete 0 element means don't delete any element. And at index 0, you are going to add Tutort and Academy. So you will have hello world, Tutort Academy and coding. So that's what you get as the output. What next? Hello world coding 2, 2 means go to index 2, delete 2 elements. You cannot delete 2 elements because you can delete at max 1 element. So whatever the element, that will be deleted. So hello world will remain same, Tutort Academy will be the output, and only coding will be deleted. Okay, since you deleted 0 element here, that's why this is empty. What next? Test case number 4, hello world coding. You say array.spice 1, 2 means go to one index, delete 2 elements, and once you delete 2 elements, don't replace with anything. So only hello will be given as the output, and the element you deleted are world and coding. Last test case, array5.splice 2, 1, go to second index and delete one element. So hello world will be the output, and coding is the element that you have deleted. That's it. Okay. We discuss in detail about all the 5 test cases. Then we move to next function, which is slice function. Slice function does not modify the original array. It returns a newly modified array. Slice function, as the name says, it is used to slice out a portion of array. One moment, guys. It is used to slice out a portion of an array from a particular given index. Repeating the same, it does not modify the original array. Okay. Why my clock is 1 hour ahead? Okay, anyways. Now, in terms of slice function, it does not modify the original array. It returns a newly modified array. What does that mean? If I want to slice out a portion of an array from a given index, I can slice out from this, right? So it takes only one parameter, which is slide, and that goes by indexing. Means if I want to know the index that I want to create, in that case, if I just create the index, I will have index till n minus 1. And if I slice out to a particular position, I can do index to value minus 1. Let's take a look. This is my array. If I do array.slice1 means start from the first index till the end of the string. So this is first index till the end of the string is this. So you'll get Devang Sharma. Does not modify the original array will remain same. But if you do 0, 2 means you're given the exact position. So 2 minus 1 index will be 1. So you'll get Hey and Devang, and original array will remain the same. This is what we have discussed in the last class. Now, let's come to today's class. We're going to start with first arrow functions, then we'll talk about React as overall, what is React component, state, render, net installing, and so on and so forth. But prior to that, everybody clear with the revision? Type clear in the chat, and then we can start with today's class. Okay. Looks like it's the daylight saving has started. Today's 12th March. So daylight saving has started. Makes sense. Now the clock is gonna read. Cool guys, let's start with next topic, which is JavaScript arrow functions. Let's start with this. We're going to quickly cover JavaScript arrow functions and then we'll start with React. Let's take you to lead code to explain the arrow functions. Okay. I hope all of you guys can see my screen. Just let me know. You can. That sounds good. Let me take this bit up. Clear the console and move here. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to define a simple function. So let's say this is function, right? And how do you define a function? Inside a function, you just return whatever value you want to give. Return. That's it. That is how you return a function, right? Now, I just want to print console.log function. Run the code. What is going to be the output? Okay, something is wrong. Let me clear this. If I want to create, let's create variable value equal to function. Return this and this. Now I just want to console.log value. Okay. As you can see, the output you have got is the function, which is value. Value by default, it's a function. It is returning hey there one. So if you want to just print the value at value, that is just returning a function. Now the thing is, this is the function that I use. I give some parameters if I want to, and I can return the value that I want to return from there. But the thing is, once we have the arrow functions, we can use shorter syntaxes. So same thing, but if I use the arrow function, I can do the same thing using shorter indexes. Means, let's put a let's delete this, run this, you get this output. Okay. If I want to do the same thing, I can also do value equal to a comma b and just use the arrow function a into b. Now, what does that mean? If I define any function, let's say call it, one moment, let value 1 equal to, I just want to define a function equal to a comma b and equal to a into b. Now I just want to print console.log this value 1 that I'm going to have. I just want to print this value 1. And let's pass some value 2 comma 5. Okay. Now you see this output as 20. So what we have actually achieved by using what we have actually achieved by using arrow function. I'm not specifically typing the keyword of function. Just by providing these brackets, it is obviously clear that this is going to be a function and I can pass the parameters. I can call without parameters also. So if I want to use, I can call it without parameters. Okay. Now, same thing if I want to use with arrow function also, the same thing which I've done here, I can do it with arrow functions also. So simple thing is that you can use arrow function and based upon the arrow function, you can actually shorten the syntax of it. One more example, let's say the same thing I want to use by arrow function. My val will become equal to and it returns hello world. Okay. Now I copy this. Since value is a function, I want to print the value of the function, run the code. Okay, something is wrong, unexpected comma. What is missing? Value equal to this, and you give hello world. Which line it contains error? Line 4 it contains error. That is strange. It should not. Okay, something is wrong. Okay, I've given equal to, my bad. In terms of arrow function, it will say that the value is a function. Fine. Instead of printing the value, I want to give the actual content. Run, it will give you hello world. Here also, you want to give the actual content. Here you'll get the hey Devang. Now, that is what I was saying. So the only difference between this line, and let me write its alternative also. Value 1 equal to function. In that function, I'll be passing a comma b. In that, I'll be writing what? Return a into b. Something like this. That is the long way of doing it. That will be equal to. And yeah, sounds good. And then let should not be kept here. I will keep the let here. Now I run the code. And there you got the output. Now this gives much more clarity. If you look at this, two examples I have taken. Example number 1, the way you do without arrow function is that you just define the function. Part number 1, you just define the function and you return the function. You can initialize it to a variable, you can initialize it to an object, and then you can call the function, return it. Working fine, I get the output here they want. But this is a very big syntax. If I want to reduce the syntax, if I want to minimize the syntax, what I can do is I can just use an arrow function. What does this bracket tells me? This bracket tells me that, hey, this is a function. These round bracket always tells you it's a function, right? What does this arrow function tells you? Arrow function tells you what you have to return. Arrow function tells you what you have to return. So this is using arrow function. Let's write it here. Shorter form, using arrow function, and this is without using arrow function. What else? Then you define let value 1 equal to function a comma b. Here you're returning a into b. Now you're passing it as a parameter. So this one does not contain any parameter. So we convert it into arrow functions. Now this is normal function with parameters. Can we do the arrow function with parameters also? Let's see. And this is the same alternative. Now in my brackets, I'm passing two parameters, a comma b, and I'm returning a into b. So this is arrow function again with parameters. So you can use arrow function without parameters, just like in this case, line number 6. You can use the arrow function with parameters, as you can see in line number 40. Both cases you are able to see your arrow function. The whole advantage of using arrow function is that it reduces the syntax, or it minimizes the syntax whenever you need to use it. Okay. One more thing, can I use this in a variable also? So let's see, can I use it as part of passing parameter also? Let's see. Copy this. I want to pass a parameter. So let's say something like even small parameter I want to give. So a. So just put it. Okay. In this value, I just want to give a parameter, let's say a, and I want to call this, let's call value 1 a. What would be the output now? What do you think would be the output now? Come on, guys, be quick. Correct. If you run the code, now the output will become what? The output will remain hello world only. When you pass hey as a parameter, I'm not adding hey anywhere, right? That parameter that you have passed, that parameter is there, but I'm not added anywhere. Although if I do like this, now I clear it, now I run it, now I'll see the hey hello world. And obviously I have to give a space between that. So that gives me a space. That's it. So can you pass it as a parameter also, and based upon the parameter, you can give it. Same example we have seen. I can use arrow function with parameter, without parameter. One more thing, which many people don't know, but just to tell you can use arrow function without parentheses also. Okay. Not many people know it, and to be honest, not many people prefer to use it. But just to tell you can use arrow function without parentheses also. This is something extra, but just wanted to show you. Copy this. I don't want to pass these parentheses, but I do want to pass some parameter. So let's say A, and in my A, I've just passed it like this. Now clear this, run the code. What do you get? You get the hey hello world. Same thing you can do just without using parameter, just without using parentheses also. This is what your arrow function is. So I'm just going to write down the theory, but before writing down the theory, quickly commenting this. Part number one, what is arrow function? Arrow function is nothing. Arrow function is same as any JavaScript function. The only difference is it reduces the shorter function syntax, right? Obviously, you can say this is a very shorter function syntax. I can use parentheses, I can use parameter also, and I can use without parentheses also. Same example we have seen here also. Okay. Everybody clear with it? Let me know. Any doubt, please ask. Everybody clear with it? Let me know. Any doubts, please ask. Okay, let's copy this. Go back to Sublime. There you go. Paste it. There goes your code. There would be your output. Now moving on to next. First thing first, arrow functions. What are arrow functions? They were introduced in ES6. So prior to ES6, there were no arrow functions, 2015. Next thing, arrow functions allows to write shorter function syntax. This part. Okay, so when you say arrow function, the whole idea is to reduce the shorter function syntax. And what next? You can use arrow function with or without parameters, with or without parameters. And what else? You can use arrow functions with or without parentheses also. That is I just covered right now. You can use the arrow functions with or without parentheses also, and that's it. These are the four things. So first of all, introduced in ES6, which is 2015, allows us to write the shorter function syntax. That's what we have seen. Use arrow. This is similar like Lambda. Yes, that's very much correct. It's pretty much similar like Lambda, which you can shorten the terms of syntax, right? Now, moving on to next, it uses arrow function with or without parameters. You can without parentheses. These are the code that we have seen, and these are the output that we have seen. Arrow functions clear to all? Arrow functions clear to all? Okay. That is something which we are going to use in our React applications quite often. Anyways, officially, whatever you needed to know in your JavaScript is completed. So I'm moving the JavaScript now, and let's actually start with our React applications. So intro to React, and moving on intro to React. Now we'll start with our React classes, React project, and what we have to do in end-to-end. So I'm just going to take this down, and then we'll have discussion on that. So JavaScript ends here. Let's start with React. Okay. Very first thing, the way I want to start with React is, for React, understanding of object-oriented JavaScript is not required. I believe object-oriented is obviously something you know, right? Can you explain the use of this in arrow function? This is used for calling the, okay, let me just cover this also. This I can cover in React also. This you want, I can cover here also. When you say this in a arrow function, this in arrow function refers to the calling function. Which function is calling or which is the parent function which is invoking, that is used for this. It will make more sense to use it during the React, but if you want, I can cover it right now also. But let's start with React. Anyways, we'll be using arrow functions quite often there. Coming to the previous question you asked, for React, understanding of object-oriented JavaScript is not required. Object-oriented JavaScript and concept of object-oriented, I think we have pretty much not required in this case of using React part one. Part two, in terms of object orientation, I don't think any specification is required apart from the four object-oriented pillars, right? That I believe everyone knows, right? Four pillars of object-oriented programming. Although what do we need is in terms of React is to understand the component and how the React is structured. So nothing much required on the JavaScript side. Whatever was required, that we have covered enough in terms of DOM model, in terms of rendering. That is what we have discussed. Okay, cool. Now let's start with React. But the way to start with React is I want to do end-to-end project deployment. So I'm talking about the 3-4 projects that we are going to make. Project one that we are going to make is, the very first thing is a Netflix clone or a YouTube clone. We can see using our, of course, HTML, CSS, JavaScript in React. Part two, we can start with a Spotify clone. Part three, we can keep Amazon clone. Okay, this is something we can do. Netflix or YouTube, we can combine with that. In today's class, what I'm going to start with is to getting started with the React, the kind of repos that I want to make, and etc. etc. Okay, and TypeScript or JavaScript will be used. We'll be starting with types. We're starting with JavaScript, but obviously we can switch to. I will tell you the alternative in TypeScript also, but we'll be coding JavaScript just to be clear. These are the projects that we want to make. So basic shopping cart and all we can remove. These projects are sufficient, right? Apart from that, what I do want you to all of you is when we go to the project stage and starting from today itself, not you don't have to wait till project stage. We want to keep the end-to-end projects. What do you mean by end-to-end projects means? Every project that we're going to start with, including our first React app, I want you to create a repo on GitHub. I hope everybody has a GitHub account. I hope everybody has a GitHub account. Okay, cool. Then push the code. And third, post it live. Okay. These are things I want. So, and all of these projects, I want all of you to have at least separate GitHub repo, push the code means commit the code only, and then host it live. In terms of hosting, what we can use, you can use Heroku, you can use Netify or any other hosting service you want. One thing to be clear, if you are using Heroku, don't push node modules because keeping node modules will actually fail the build. So you won't be able to host your website live. Anyways, when we'll go for hosting that part, then I'll cover that in detail. Now, moving on to next, steps are given here. So let's start with this. Those steps I will start. Number one is keeping a GitHub account. Number two, creating a new repo. Number three is the name of the repo. Let's say start with YouTube clone or whatever. And you can start with your first name. And fourth, I want you to do a Heroku setup. That is what we're going to do. And those steps we are going to follow once we go to the projects. But as of now, we are not going to the project. So this is going to be the end-to-end flow. Okay. After covering these basics of React, which is what I'm targeting in today's class, after covering that in detail, then we are going to actually start with installation of React. This will take some time for, and then we're going to start with the project. In terms of starting the projects, these are the 3 projects that we are targeting using React application. One thing to be crystal clear, I want the projects to be end-to-end. So it's not like you build something and you don't have anything to showcase to interview. You build something along with possibly along with the database also. And if not, we can figure out ways to connect database, push the code and host it live. So I want all of you to have at least a website which shows your projects which you have made and anybody can access it live. You can host it on Heroku, Netify. Any of you has free AWS account because in student, some of you get free AWS account. So you can store for AWS also. But usually AWS is paid. So I will going from Heroku and Netify or other streaming service we can find out. And these are going to be the steps for it. Yeah, Firebase is fine also. We can go with Firebase. Okay. I mean, hosting service, I'm not focusing too much on hosting. You want to go out on Firebase, fine. But I want all of you to create live projects. Live project in the sense, it's not something I teach you something, you understand it, but after this course ends, you have nothing to demo, right? Or nothing to showcase. That is the worst case. If you're coming and investing your time, if I'm investing time in you, the best thing is that you make a project and you can showcase to any interviewer. That will eventually help you as well. Okay. Now moving on to next, this is going to be the structure that we are going to follow based upon the projects. Now let's start with part number one, which is what actually is React. Okay. Part one, what is React or introduction to React? React is a JavaScript library. Okay. What is it used for? It is used for building fast and interactive user interfaces. That's it. UI, UX, it is used for that. Can you also review my portfolio time in the class? I can modify. Okay. I'll check that later post the class. Okay. First thing, what is React? React is a JavaScript library. Second, what is it used for? It is used for building fast interacting user interfaces. And who built it? Obviously, Facebook built it. Facebook built it in 2011 as part of one of hackathons, and it is open source also. That's also something you should know. React Native is different. A lot of people confuse React with React Native. React Native is completely different. Both React and React Native built were actually built at Facebook. Majority of the products that we have at Facebook, we are actually moving into React Native. But just to tell you a fundamental difference, React is something which was built on the web application side across the cross platforms. Cross platform means a website which is built, you can see it on a multiple devices. You can see it on a screen, you can see it on a laptop screen, you can see it on a mobile screen, or you can see it on multiple different screens, right? That is what React application is used for. Create very fast, very scalable, and very scalable user interfaces, single page application, multi-page application, having routes, etc., etc. Rendering, low space rendering, all of that. React Native is completely different. React Native came much later into picture. The idea of React Native was write once, use everywhere. So let's say you have an app. Let's say you have a code base for a website. Now I want to create an app out of it. Now, when you say I'm going to create a mobile app, two things come. Either it's going to be Android or it's going to be iOS. So what used to happen is any developer who used to write, the way development happens is website used to write a code in HTML, CSS, JavaScript. On the mobile side, you have to write the code in Android, which is Java or Kotlin. On the on the app server side, on the iOS side, you have to write the code in Swift. Now that was three code being redundant in different languages, right? So what React Native, Flutter, or Dart as architecture, what they provide is you can write once and you can deploy it everywhere. That's something Firebase also does. Okay. So don't confuse React with React Native. Both are completely different. But I'm going to write it. So that will become much easier. So in terms of tech stack, when you say I'm designing a website, it's two parts. First is front end, back end. Okay. Front end, you can use any client side language, which is usually built upon JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and any library or framework you can use. I'll cover that React versus Angular and all. Okay. Popular one is React. Angular, and Vue. Vue is also quite popular. In backend, these are languages are called server-side languages. Server-side languages, it can be Node, it can be Python, or any backend languages you can think of. Java, C++, C Sharp, whatever you can think of, even Golang as well. Okay. This is the tech stack used for a website. Second, when it comes to mobile apps, two parts are there, Android or iOS. You usually use Java. Recently, Kotlin is also introduced, and now it is getting very, very popularity. Obviously, Android is owned by Google, so Kotlin is a language developed by Google. Java is not developed by Google. Mobile apps in iOS use the language called Swift, which of course is owned by Apple. Now, this is the overall tech stack which is used in development. So whenever creating a website, you on the client side, you'll be using JavaScript, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, TypeScript, similar thing, along with any framework if you have to, or if you don't have to, like React, Angular, or Vue. Backend side, you'll be using all the backend languages. If I have to make a mobile app, I will be using Java or Kotlin in Android or Swift in iOS. What does React Native does? React Native or Flutter, let's put it here. What is React Native / Flutter? React Native or Flutter, what does it do is combines a common code base for website, Android, and iOS, even for BlackBerry also. I'm not written the BlackBerry because not many people use it, but those who use it, even for BlackBerry also, right? So write once, use everywhere. Something that philosophy, something with Java has, right? Write once, use everywhere. So earlier, what used to happen is whenever a company launches a product, whenever an organization launches a product, they have to go through at least 3 iterations. If they want to create a web version of it, they code in, they had need to hire a web developer. If they want to code in, if they want to launch an Android version of it, they have to hire an Android developer. If they want to load the iOS version of it, they have to call for the Swift developer or iOS developer. But now they just need to have one developer who is a React Native expert or a Flutter expert. React Native is owned by Facebook. Flutter is owned by Google. Okay. Yeah. So React Native is owned by Facebook. Google is owned by Flutter is owned by Google. In that case, now they just need to add one React Native developer or a Flutter developer, and one code will be written, and that will be, they don't need to have 3 different developers with 3 different skill set. Only one developer is sufficient enough, right? And which is very effective also in terms of cost and in terms of implementation. React and React Native are completely different. That is why I've covered this topic. Coming back to React, React is a JavaScript library which is used for building fast and interactive user interfaces, built by Facebook, and it is open source. Now moving on to in details of React. Okay. So moving to React, we talked about this is going to be a library. Library consists of UI components, okay, render and display, part 3, render and display. Now, what next? It is used to provide us interactive web application, interactive UIs, and it is extremely fast. Now, one thing to be clear, let's try to understand the difference between a library versus a component. Okay, let's try to understand this. It also provides you routes. We have different routes also. Either it is HTTP route, it is HTTPS route, it is a restless based route, or it is a SOAP based route. And the DB route that you have, you can find it in any database. So nothing to mention here in DB routes. Let's understand this with a practical example that will make much more easier to understand. Part 1. If I have a room, let's say, in my room, I have a hall, I have a kitchen, I have washing machine. These three utilities I have, right? Now, when I say 1 BHK, I'm talking about a room plus other utilities. So this is a room and this is a utilities. Utilities. Now, what happens in this case is your BHK becomes a framework. Inside that, your room is a library and your utilities are components. Okay. So what happens is when you say I'm having a framework for a language, what does framework means? Framework consists of different libraries and components, right? So if you combine these components along with this library is just consisting some pre-specific template for the code. For example, if you have to make a website or something like this. So pre-existing template, pre-existing things which are already present as part of that library, that is what you have is. When you say I'm building a framework, you also add additional components on it. For example, when I say 1 BHK bed, it's not just the room that I'm getting. I'm also getting a hall, I'm also getting a kitchen, I'm also getting some amenities and utilities. Apart from what is provided in terms of a library, you add few more components. That is when it becomes a framework. So framework is what? Framework is library. One moment. Framework is library plus the utilities or components, as you can call it. Is this part clear to all? Is this part clear to all? Come on, guys, be quick. Okay. The difference between library and framework, is this clear to all? Component I'm coming to. Difference between library and framework is clear. Okay. Now let's start with next topic, which is component. What do we mean by React components? Okay, or in component in general. Whenever I say React component, we are as of now we're discussing in general. Angular also has the same, we also have the same. What is a component? Component is the smallest piece of UI which you can take out, run it independently and isolately. Repeating, component is the smallest place of UI or smallest piece of UI which can be independent and it can be isolatedly run, right? So let's write the definition here. Component is a piece of UI which will be independent, reusable, and isolated in React application. Okay. Independent, reusable, isolated in React applications. React application is combination of components. Either they're a functional component, class component, like we're going to have a look later, but later on, it is just a combination of components. So when you say I have a React application, any React application is just a combination of components. What is a component? It is just a piece of UI which will be independent, reusable, one moment, and isolated in React application. One thing to add here is that every React application has at least one component. Okay. Every React application has at least one component. And this component, which is called the main component, that is called root, which is present in your app.js. Okay. Your root, which is present in your app.js. And all other components are actually child components. Nothing else. Repeating it again. What are components? Let's put it here. A component is a piece of UI which is independent, reusable, and isolated in React application. React application is nothing. It's a combination of components. One thing to be clear, every React application has at least one component, which is your root or present in app.js. All other components you're having are the child components of this app.js or your root component. Okay. Now, in order to understand the hierarchy, I'll talk about the hierarchy, then I'll talk about the real life example. The hierarchy is like this. Root is the parent component of all. Then you can have multiple components. Let's say component 1, component 2, component 3. Okay. Inside that, you can also have subcomponents. So I can put underscore 1, underscore 1, underscore 1. Okay. Now, what do you mean? Every React application is combination of component. Each component is independent, it is reusable and isolated. And at least every React application has the parent component as root, and everything else is just the child component of that. That is how React is built. Okay. If someone say what is library, then what can we say? Can we say library is a common different components and templates and some different functions? That is correct. Different components and templates and some predefined functions or references or pre-existing code, pre-existing templates, that's the right term to use. That is what a library is. Okay. In terms of real life example or practical example, how we can understand a component in a website, let's take an example. How many of you have used Twitter? How many of you have used Twitter? Everyone has used or at least know about Twitter. Okay. What do we have in the Twitter? Let's start with this. You have a home page, which you also call as feed, right? In home page, you have option to go to profiles, and obviously you have your feed generated. You can tweet something, you can like a tweet, you can comment a tweet, etc. etc. Let me take this here. You can like a tweet, you can comment on a tweet, and obviously you can retweet as well. By comment, I mean replies, just to be clear. Apart from that, there's a section called trending. You can find what is trending in subject to topic. You can find hashtags and you can find news section also. Okay. If I have to understand how I'm going to build Twitter, I'm talking about the web version. I'm not talking about the iOS version or Android version. I'm just talking in the web version. How does Twitter looks on a website? Now, if I have to understand this in terms of hierarchy of components, what is my root component? My home page is going to be my root component, part 1. Inside that, what do I have? Inside that, I have feed component. Let's put it here. Inside that, I have my profile component. Inside that, I have my trending component and etc. etc. Right? Inside my profile, creating a component like edit picture or edit DP, whatever, that can be one component. This is the real life example how React is used or how React implementation happens. So let me quickly walk over it again, and then it will make all sense in detail. Arrow functions, I'm not going to revise. I'm just going to revise from the React itself. Part 1. What is React? React is a JavaScript library which is used for building fast and interactive user interfaces. Part number 1. Built by Meta in 2011, open source, right? So you can find and you can see the code of React. The latest version is 68. 69th is also going to release out very soon. React I'm talking about, not React Native. Then I talked about the tech stack, which is used on the website, front end and the back end. These are the tech stack which is used. On mobile side, this is the tech stack. On iOS side, this is the tech stack, Android and iOS. What is React Native? React Native or Flutter, these kind of frameworks, the requirement is rather than creating a code 3 times for a product, once for iOS, one for Android, once for web, why not to create a common code base and just deploy it, right? Flutter, apart from that, Firebase also does the same thing. Firebase is technically a hosting service, not necessarily a deployment service, but Firebase also provides the option whenever you make a project, you can have a web version of it, you can have an Android version of it, you can have an iOS version of it. Firebase also provides the same. Firebase is again owned by Google. Now, combines a common code base for website and on iOS, write once, use everywhere. That is React Native. But in our course, we are not discussing React Native, we are discussing React as of now, which is just used to create website. So React is a library which is used to combination of UI components, rendering and display. The idea is to create a very interactive UI and very fast to access. Then I give you a practical example, the difference between a library and a framework. A framework is a combination of library along with the components, right? Library is a combination of some pre-written codes and pre-written templates to make it quick, to have a very quick lookup or to have a very quick website that you can build for, right? So it contains certain components, certain pre-existing templates, some previous code which is already there as a working website. And obviously you can modify it to create your own website. Then we deep dive into React components. What are React components? First, a component is a piece of UI which will be independent, reusable, and isolated in React application. Just read these words very carefully. Independent, reusable, and isolated in React application. Any React application is just a combination of components. Either it's a class component or function component. That's a different thing that we're going to discuss. It's just a combination of components, right? React application is at least one component, which is the root component, which is present in your app.js, and all other components are the child components. Hierarchy it looks like is your root component, which is app.js. It can contain multiple components as a child. Child can also contain further subchild. I convert into a practical example, all the way you see that a Twitter as a website on a homepage. It contains homepage, it contains profile, feed, tweet, likes, replies, retweet, rendering, hashtags, etc. If you have to understand in terms of terminology of a React, homepage is your root element or your root component. Inside that, you can have a feed as a child component, profile as a component, and trending as one more component, obviously as child components, right? Now, inside profile also, you can have subcomponents like edit DP or edit name or username, etc., etc. These will become your more child components. In terms of React, let me edit here also. The types of components which are present in React are two. Either it can be a class component or it can be a function component, which we are going to see later when we go to move to projects. But yeah, this is what we have seen overall in terms of our React understanding. So first, React is a library which contains some pre-written template, written code. Second, React is a combination of all components. Any React application is a combination of components. What are components in real life? That's also we have discussed. Independent, reusable, and isolated code. What do you mean by independent? If I'm checking the feed, it is independent of what is happening in the profile. It is independent of what is happening in the trending, right? If you edit your DP and let's say your DP were not updated for some reason or whatever reason, that does not mean that you will not be able to see your feed as well. That is why I said independent. So whatever is happening in the feed is not dependent on what is happening in the profile, etc., etc. Is this part clear to all? Is this part clear to all? Okay. Now we move to the major step, which is going to be the highlight for today, and then we'll go to the next part. Installation of React. Okay. How many of you have used React before? Just answer yes or no. Any project in React, no matter how easy or complicated, just answer yes or no. Okay. Never used React? Okay. Anyways, if you've not used it, it means you need to install it first, and I'm going to guide you through the steps. What is going to happen is some of you might face problem. So what I can do is, since we have like only 15 people, so I can ask you to share screen in case anyone faces any problem. I'm going to write down all the step one by one. Parallelly, keep doing it. Don't wait that after the end of the class, you're going to copy paste. Don't do that. Parallelly, you can utilize this time. Do it. If any problem is there, I can resolve it there rather than waiting for the next class, which will be next. I'll be guiding you step by step. Kindly follow the step. Either you're using a Mac or you're using a Windows or any other operating system. I'll tell you the steps for all of you. Okay. So parallelly, keep on doing it. Once you are done with the step, please type done. If anybody faces a problem, you can message everyone. You can message to me so I can help you out. Step number one, installation of React. The first step that you need to do is you need to install Node and npm. Okay. Npm is Node Package Manager. That is what you need to install in your system. Nowadays, npm comes with Node or Node comes with npm. So you don't need to worry about separately installing it. Earlier times, it used to install separately. This is step number one. How to do that? Let me quickly show you. Just go to Google, and just type install node or something. Install node. Okay. And this is the website. Let me take you here. Let me give you the link. I hope all of you guys can see my screen, the Google Chrome screen. Okay. If you guys can see the Google Chrome screen, this is node.org, nodejs.org/en download. Now, one thing to be clear, I told you it comes with the NPM. So latest you can see is 18.15.0. This includes the NPM. So you don't have to separately install it. Okay. Now, depending upon which operating system you're using, let's say you are on Windows, just go to Windows. Okay, I don't want to install it, but anyways, if you are on Windows, in that case, you can just download the 64-bit or 32-bit in case of your system configuration. If you're not sure, let's start with 64-bit and install it. Okay. Mac OS users, you can ask to install the 64-bit. If you are in the M1, you can use for ARM64. Linux users, you can accordingly go for V7, V8, depending upon your installation. Once you are done with the installation, you obviously have to run a setup. You have to go next, 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 and then install it. This will take some time. So let me know once you guys are done with it. Step clear to all. Given this website, depending upon you are on Windows or you are on Mac, install it, download it and then install it. Okay. How does the successful installation will look like? Let me tell you that also. Successful installation, if it is, you need to check with two commands. Check with node -v to check if node has been installed and npm -v for node is installed. Okay. This is for node and this is for npm. You need both of them to be installed. Again, repeating, it comes as part of a package, so you don't need to worry about it. It installs both of them. Let me show you the VS Code also. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Everybody can see my VS Code. Just type yes in the chat. Come on, guys, can you see my VS Code? Okay. I'm just going to show. I type node space -v. It says 18.12.1 means node.js is successfully installed. If I say npm-v, it tells me 9.6.1 means npm and node both are installed. Only once all of you get this answer that node-v installed and npm-v is installed, it will give you success means both installed. Then tell me, then we'll move to next steps. Okay. Anybody faces any problem, let's say in some application, in some machine, in some of you have not installed it. In that case, it will give you an error that node is not recognized as an internal command or npm is not recognized as an internal command. So follow these steps until you get node and npm installed with the specific version. Then we'll go to the next steps. Once you are done, please type done in the chat. All of you guys. It's fine if some of you will install it before it's already installed in my system, then it's good. If it's already installed, move ahead. Guys, if it's already installed, just move ahead, just type done. It's taking time. Yeah, it's a bit take time. For the first time user, it's taking time. In the command, I can see the version not in VS Code. In the command, I can see the version not in the VS Code. That is strange. Why not? What are you opening in VS Code? Type sudo. Type sudo node-v, sudo npm-v. Or go to the root directory, then type the command. If we are able to send in the command prompt, then it is fine. Nothing to worry. Cool, guys. Once all of you are done, please type done in the chat. Then I will go to the next step. Yeah, it will install some packages and all. That's fine. how to open it. You don't need to open anything. Okay. Once you follow the process, like download it and then install it, once installation is done, just open the command prompt or the terminal in Mac, command prompt in Windows. Once it is installed successfully, you should type node-v, you should get some response, whatever version you have installed. You should type npm-v, you should get some response. If you're not getting response in any of these command, node-v or npm-v, then there is a problem. Then tell me. If you're able to see response, it is fine. Any version you're using, I'm not concerned. You can update it later. But I want node and npm both to be installed. Okay. If all of you are done with it, please type done. Okay, all done. Now we can move to step number 2. So let's come back here. This is done. This is done. Now step number 3. Once you have successful node and successful npx, node and npm, now I want steps for React app. Okay. There is something else also, which is difference between npm create and npx create, which I'll cover a bit later. But first, let's start with the React app. Okay. What I want you guys is number 1, type this command npm install create React app. First command I'm giving in the chat also, remove the hyphen, npm install create React app. Okay. Then npx create React app. First app Devang. I'll do that parallelly. I'll show you how it looks like on my screen. Accordingly, you can do in parallel also. Okay. Step 3, cd first app Devang and d start. I'm going to copy this. I'm just going into the VS Code. I will show all the steps one by one. So I'll just minimize this. Okay, too slow. Yeah. These are the 4 steps. Okay. I hope all of you can see my VS Code. All of you can see my VS Code. You guys can. Okay. Now I'm going to clear this. I'm going to start one by one. The very first thing is, yeah, one moment. The deprecation is fine. Warning is fine. Nothing to worry about. I'll come NPM next page. Let's start with the React application. Then I'll cover the NPM and NPX theory. Prior to that, what I want you guys to do is create a repo, create a GitHub repo, not GitHub repo, just create a folder at least as of now, a folder with the name of React projects. As you can see, inside my MERN batch, I've created a folder called React projects. I want all of you to first create a folder for React projects. Do not keep it at desktop, at least keep it in somewhere, right? Either DE or whatever instance you're using. Do not create it at desktop at least. Just create a folder, React projects, and cd into the React projects. So if I show it here, MERN batch, as you can see, I go to my React project. Once you guys all are in the React project, then let me know. Just create a folder React project. Inside the React project, open your command prompt or open your terminal. Everybody done? Then type done in the chat. In your machine, create a folder called React projects. In that folder, open the command prompt or the terminal. Guys, if it is done, type done in the chat. You just have to open command prompt inside that folder. How to open terminal for that folder? Okay, you can just open terminal and you can cd into that folder. Or if you are using Mac, just right click on that folder. You will find it, open in terminal. That's it. Okay. If you're using command prompt, just open that terminal, open that folder. In that folder, copy the path, type cd and go to that path. Or inside that folder, right click, open your command prompt or open your terminal, whatever. I just want all of you to be inside a particular folder, which is React projects. Once you guys are done, type done in the chat. All done, easy. Just create a folder, go inside that folder, open terminal or command prompt inside that folder. That's it. Okay. Once you're done, I want to execute the first command. Let's create it G minus this just to create it globally. So I'm copying this command. I'm installing right now in front of you. Command is npm space install -g. -g is to install globally. Create React tab. Create React tab is name of the module. npm is the node package manager. This command tells me, hey npm, install me the create React tab module globally. Repeating it again, npm, please install globally the create React tab module. Just copy and paste this command inside your terminal or command prompt inside the React project folder and press enter. Okay. It gives me the error and the error is permission denied. So whenever you get this error for permission denied, just use sudo. Okay. I put a sudo, I type my password, and now it will start installing something. So once it is successfully installed, globally means good question. So when you use virtual machines, or even if you don't use virtual machines, sometimes you can have different versions of Node and NPM, right? In one machine, you can have multiple versions of Node and NPM. For example, I'm running a project which requires me a version of Node 14 and other project which requires a version of Node 16. So I'll create a VM which is corresponding to first version of 14, second corresponding to version of 16. Global is version which is present everywhere, and local version is which is present inside that folder or inside that module. So when I say -g, I'm talking about globally. Okay, that is what globally means. Once it is successfully done, you will get like this. You will get a message that changes 67 packages or whatever number of packages. 5 packages are looking for this. If everybody got this, type done in the chat. Ignore the warning. Warning is fine. No need to worry about it. If everybody got this message, type done in the chat. If you guys got any error, please let me know. I can help you out with the error. No, vulnerabilities, warning, that is fine. Error should not be there. Vulnerabilities, warnings are fine. Error should not be there. Okay. Everybody got this? Yeah, that's fine. Warning is fine. Nothing to worry about it. Cool. If everybody got this, I'm marking this as done. Putting it here. This part is done. Now this part, next one is important part, which will take time. Okay. So do it very carefully. I'm clearing this. Step number 2 that we have is npx create hyphen. So if we install create React tab globally, then we again in future making another project and installation. Yes, correct. This installation will not be required. So create React app is a module which I have installed globally. So next time, whenever you're making any React application, you don't need to do that. You can directly start with step number 2. That's what it means. Okay. Now, step number 2 is very important. So let's understand this one by one. I'm going to take this command before pressing. I'll tell you. Okay. What did I say? I say npx. This time I'm not talking npm, I'm talking npx. I'll later tell you the difference between npm and npx. You can replace with npm also, but I don't want you guys to go via npm way. I want to go via npx way. Okay. npx, name of the module, create React app, and this is the name of my app. So I'm saying first app Devang. You guys replace Devang with your first name, but rest of the command will remain same. Giving in the chat. Copy this, paste it here. npx space create React app And create react app contains hyphen in between, space, the name of the app, which is first app and your first name. Please replace Devang with your first name. So if your first name is, let's say, Ashish, so type it Ashish like this. If it is Devang, then type Devang. Okay, cool then. I'll explain. This is the command that you have to do. And what does this command does? It command tells me, hey, using npx, the module that I have create react app, last command we installed npx, right? The last command we installed the module create react app. Using create react app, I want to create an application for React, and the name of the application is first app Devang. That's it. You're asking permission from npx that using the create react app module, I want to create a module. Name of the module is first app Devang. That is what this command does. Everybody clear? Okay. Now I'm going to press this, and this is something you're going to see. This will take some time, so be ready for it. If you're doing it for the first time, might take a minute or something. Okay. Although you can read it parallelly, what it is doing, it is installing React, it is installing React DOM, and it is installing React script with CRA template. Can you guys see this? Everybody should see this. Everybody should see something happening in their code base. Okay, cool. Keep continuing. It will take a minute or two, might take a minute, might take less. And once it will be done, it will give you the message, it is done. All of you execute this step. That is fine. Even if CRA template is not coming, it's totally fine. Okay. Now it is using installing dependencies, etc., etc. I'm coming to it. I'm coming to npx versus npm, but let's complete this. After a successful creation, you will get happy hacking. You will be given this npm start, npm run build, and happy hacking at the end. Once all of you get this, then type done in the chat. Guys, once all of you, let's wait for other people. Once all of you get it, then type done in the chat. A template was not provided. This is likely because using an outdated version, create react tab. Please note that global instructor was supported. Fine. You can just, one moment. Those one who is facing this error, just run by npm uninstall -g global. Next time you run this command, just remove the -g. That's it. Okay. So you can uninstall it, and next time you can just remove the -g. So you can run this command only like this. Okay. Guys, once everyone is done, then update me. Okay. Now it looks like what I need to run after install. Same command, let me give you in the chat. Remove the -g from it, and then the second command. This is the first command, and then the second command. Since global is not supported in your machine, so you can just remove the global part. Rest of the thing will remain the same. Although it's very rare that people have this error, either you're using a very previous version of Node or NPM. I'll suggest you to upgrade your Node and NPM, because no other person has faced this issue in this batch. Okay. Cool, guys. If this is done, now let's go back to Sublime. I want to discuss on something and then come back to VS Code. Here we go. This part done, giving it global as well. This part done. Now, one thing, why did I say npx create? Even if you do npm create, then it is also fine. It will be able to do npm also. You don't need to worry about it. The difference between npm create and npx create is, but when you do npm create, in that case, this will install the package and then execute it. Okay. And when you do npx create, In that case, it will execute the package without installing it. Okay, that's the fundamental difference. So npm create, it will install the package first and then it will execute it, although npx create will execute the package without installing. That's the fundamental difference. Everybody clear with this? That is why npx create is much faster. But even if you want to go ahead with npm create, I have no issues. Okay, now coming back here, let's go back to our VS Code. Everybody is done till this step. Everybody is done till this step. You got happy hacking. Okay, now once you got happy hacking, just open your React projects folder. You will find something called first app. You'll find something called cd first app devang. So inside your first app, you will see a structure like node modules will be there. Inside you will have a lot of node modules that you don't need to check. You will have a public, you will have a src, you will have git ignore and etc. Setup test and all this. If everybody can see this, do let me know. If you don't have the package downloaded, how will npx will fit this fix error? If you don't have the package downloaded, no. When you do npm install, it has the packages, right? So npx is usually used to create a very quick render. In terms of a quick render, it does not need to install. It can just use it as it is, execute without installing it. npm you do, it installs every time. npx, it's just one time installation. That's the difference. Okay, moving on to next. In your folder that you have created, first app and your first name, you should be able to see node modules, even if I show you mine. So if you see in the first tab devang, you should be able to see. Let's come a bit here. You should be see a public folder. A public folder contains these details. A source folder contains these details, and a node modules folder. Everybody should be able to see this in your first app, whatever the name of the first app. Can you guys see? If yes, then type done. If yes, then quickly type done. Okay, done. Cool. Now, what I want you to have is a quick lookup over this code. I'm just going to type clear here. I want you to cd into that directory. So just type cd first app, whatever the name of the first app. Just go into that directory. Just type cd and that. Once it is done, type done in the chat. Come guys, quick cd, just type done in the chat once you have gone there. All done? All done? Okay. Now, after seeding there, after going to that particular folder, type this final command npm start. Final command npm start, enter. Once you type the npm start, you will successfully say this. You can now view the first app devang in the browser. This is a local one. This is on your network, and this is not that development build is not optimized. Webpack compiled successfully. Once everyone gets this, then type yes in the chat or done in the chat. Okay. What is Webpack? I've seen this in Angular too. Good question. So what is Webpack is even so there is something called module federation. Not sure if you have heard about it. It's an organization. Any website that you're making in terms of components. So either it is React, either it is Angular, it is Vue. It comes with the Webpack. So module federation is actually the organization which controls from React or from Angular. Webpack is nothing, as the name suggests, it's a combination of different components specific to that module. Either it is Angular or it is React or it is Vue. That is Webpack. Okay, it is also called MF Webpack, which is Module Federation Webpack. Cool, guys. If this is done, now by default, you will be taken to a browser. You will be taken to a browser. You will be taken to a website. If not, you can see a link here, local, this one, and on your network, this one. I want all of you, if you are already not taken to your browser, I want all of you to copy this link, HTTP localhost 3000, and enter. And you will go inside your and enter inside your browser. Okay. Let me share my complete screen. So we should be able to see something. Can everybody see an application for, let's remove this. Everybody should be able to see. Let's clear this also. Just type localhost 3000 and you should be able to see, edit something like this, a React particular logo, which is scrolling. You can see edit src app.js and save to reload. If all of you can see this, then type done. If anybody is not able to see this, please let me know. Well, guys, all done. Please type done in the chat. Okay, all done. Sounds good. Now, one thing, let us go one by one. I'm taking this. I'm going back to Sublime. Bring it here. Bring the chat here. And move to next. So this part is also done. And this part is also done. Your first React application is successfully created. That's it. Congratulations, you got your first application, first React application created. Now, certain things to look at it. First thing, I see two links here. One is a local link, one is on your network links. Locally means you can just take this link and you can open in any browser. It will take you to this website. That is what we are seeing right now. What does this second link contains on your network? What do you think? What does it contains? Anybody? Local one, you can see in the browser, you can see a React logo being populated. What is the second one says on your network? Okay. To understand this, you need to understand when you say local link, you're technically talking about your local host, which is your PC on which you are running your website. Network means the network that you are using with your Wi-Fi, right? So any device which is connected over the same network, it's not public link. Any website which is connected over the same network, be it your mobile, be it your tablet, be it your watch, be it your screen, just enter this link and you will be able to see the exact same website. So open your mobile, connect it to the same Wi-Fi as your computer is connected. Just type this link. Now, this is my link. You can accordingly copy your link, whatever link you are getting, and just enter it in your mobile browser. You should be able to see the same screen. You want to try it out, you can try it out. You want to try it after the class, you can try it after the class. So what I wanted to show is not only you can run it in your machine, you can also run it on any machine which is using that network or running on that network. This part clear to all? This part clear to all? Yes, you can change the default port to something else. Yes. Come on, guys, this part clear to all? You want to try out with your mobile, you can try out with your mobile also. Okay, cool. Step number one is done for all. Let's go for step number two. Okay. Step number two that I want to do is, let's go back to our app, as you can see. Now, there would be a folder called public folder. Everybody can see the public folder. Everybody can see the public folder. Yes, no. Guys, in your screen, not just in my screen, you guys can see public folder. It contains favicon.ico, it contains index.html and certain other files, right? We're going to come back to public contains the details which are public to you. So this HTML code that you're seeing, that is what is rendered on the right side. This is the logo that you're actually seeing, 192 and 512. This is the logo which is actually rotating. Anyways, I want you to focus on SRC folder. Inside the SRC folder, there is a file called app.js, which I told you is the root component of everything. I want all of you to open app.js from your file. This should look something like this, as you can see on the screen. And everybody should have the same app.js. Once you guys can look at it, then let me know and type clear in the chat once you can. Everybody seems the app.js, exactly same app.js. Okay. I want you to go at line number 10, where you see this comment, edit src app.js and save to reload. That's exactly what you are seeing here. That's exactly what you are seeing here. Okay. Edit src code and then save to load. I want all of you to just edit it and just replace it with something like, hey, it's my first React app. One moment, guys, let me connect the charger. Okay, moving on. I just want you to type, hey, it's my first React app. Okay. Now, one thing to be clear, guys, observe something. While I'm making changes on the left side, parallelly on the right side, I can see the changes. I didn't do any refresh. I didn't do any refresh. Agree or not? I will show you once again if you guys have missed it. Observe carefully. This is the right side of my web page. I'm not even touching it. I'm on the VS Code on the left side. I will not refresh my web page. I'm just typing it here. No refresh needed. And that's it. I go to browser now. I click on the browser now without even refreshing. It is updating the content here. All of you can see it. All of you can see it. Welcome to first React. Okay. I want all of you to update your content to welcome to first React tab. Once you are done, then I can go to Sublime Text and I can add certain things. Yeah. Now, coming back, second thing is in the public folder, we have seen certain things. What we have seen? We have seen a file called index.html, and also we have seen a favicon. Favicon is same thing, the icon which is revolving there and also present in favicon. And public means the details which are available to public. The details which are available to public. Step number 2. Step number 3, what we have seen, if I remove the, so first of all, why no refresh after change? Because I'm running a live development server. I don't need to redeploy or something. I'm running a live server. That is why there is no refresh required after changing. These 3 parts clear to all. These 3 parts clear to all. Quickly, guys. Everybody clear with this? Okay. Now we are going to do something more, and now something interesting. Focus on here. Go to your, first of all, just delete this link. I don't want this link, reactjs.org. You want to read, you can definitely read, but I just want to delete this link. So I'll take this anchor tag and This is closing here. Your anchor tag is closing here. Just take your anchor tag, delete it, remove it. Okay, remove the anchor tag. So now the link will be deleted. Okay, basic thing. Next, what I want to do is I want to go to my index.html, and this one is important. Go to your index.html. Okay, that is fine. I can configure it a bit later also. Coming back, coming to your index.html, my index.html contains a lot of comments, right? A lot of comments, which I really don't want to do it, right? So what I'm going to do is inside this lot of comment, I want to delete all the comments first. I am not interested in deleting those comments. This is given as a template. This is given as something what you want to do and achieve. You can see the title as React tab. That is something you're seeing on the top also, etc., etc. So let's delete all the comment. Delete the comment here. Delete all the comment that you see here. Comment found here, etc. Just delete all the comment that you don't need. Okay. Now look at this. Your code will be left with a very small size. Let me increase the size. It's just 20 lines of code. Once all of you got only 20 lines of code, then type yes in the chat. Delete the comments. That's it. Nothing else. Once all of you have got only 20 lines of code in your index.html, type yes in the chat. All got? All of you have got? Okay. Now all of you have got. Now let's talk about it. We already know the HTML. Now let's try to see what this code is doing. This is doc type HTML. You give the language to English. Fine. Inside the head, all of this is inside the head. So let's see what we are giving in the head. We are giving this favicon.ico that you see on the top. That is the favicon. Viewport is given based upon different screen sizes. What should be given, etc., etc. Nothing too important here. This is the title of the web page, which you see React tab. So if I open my browser again and I show you, you see React tab. This name that you see on the top React tab, that is the title which is given in your index.html. No script. In case JavaScript is not there, this is the message which will be displayed. I'm not interested in any of that. Only two things that I'm interested in is, first thing, I got the favicon, which I'm able to display. Fine. Second thing, div ID. Second thing is title React tab, which can I also see. And third is div ID equal to root. What is that division ID equal to root? Which div is this? This div ID equal to root is nothing. This is your app.js. Go back to your app.js. What do you see here? You see here, this is the div with the ID root. So when you say, let me show you again, or I can show you like this. Index.html, I'll open on the right side. Yeah, now say it. Now in this your index.one moment. Robots.txt, let's ignore this as of now. You see div ID equal to root. This ID equal to root is nothing. This is just your app.js. Okay. This is just your app.js. So whatever you're having in your app.js, that is being rendered here. What does it mean? Inside your div, which is ID equal to root, that root maps with app.js, and whatever you are seeing in the app.js, that is actually being shown to you. Nothing else. This part clear to all? One more thing, if you want to know how app.js is this, just open index.js. Inside that index.js, you will see a root being mentioned here. Document.get element by ID, which is root, which is this root, and that root only renders this component. That is what you call as component. So app space colon space this arrow. That is how this app component is being called. Okay, that is how your app component is being called. So let me write this. Go back to Sublime. Step number 4, remove comments from HTML file and see page source. Okay. Your complete page is supported by two things. By a small piece of code, which is just two things. What are the two things? First thing is div, which is root, which is nothing, which is a complete code on body. Okay. Second thing is you go to your index.js, you will see root. Inside that root, you're just calling app.js. The moment you will delete this, your body will be deleted. Delete this, and your body will be deleted. Let me show you live. Okay. So line number 10, this line number 10 I'm going to delete, which is where I'm calling my app. Delete this, refresh this, go back to your website. Your website will become empty. Your localhost 3000, this will become empty. Okay, that was your body. Let me share my complete screen, as you can see, and I will reduce this. I'll go back to VS Code again, minimize this or shorten this. Yeah, and make it to right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type Control Z. I will have my app. I will have it refresh. The moment you will refresh it, you will get the website back. What I was saying in terms of seeing the page source, right click, view page source, only this 20 lines of code of HTML. It is same as this index.html. This 20 lines of code, that's it, nothing else. As you see in index.html, same you see here. I just deleted the comments. Everybody clear with it? Type clear in the chat. Everybody clear with this? Type clear in the chat. Everybody done with this? Type done in the chat. Okay, cool. Now let me quickly walk through over what we have done in this today's class. Okay. Part number one. Yeah, one moment. Part number one, what we have discussed, we have completed our JavaScript arrow function. In terms of JavaScript arrow function, we talked about arrow functions introduced in ES6 2015, allows to write shorter function syntax, allows functions with or without parameters, and with or without parentheses also. We have seen the code, we have seen the output, etc., etc. Then we move to React. We talked about the intro of React, how our end-to-end projects are going to look like, where we are going to host it, steps for the same. First, we talked about JavaScript library, understood the tech stack, what is React versus React Native, what is React is, what is the difference between a library, components, and frameworks. Then React component, what is a component, independent, reusable, isolated React application, how does the hierarchy looks like, how does it look like in a practical example of Twitter, right? Then we move to installation of React. We have installed Node and NPM successfully. Then we have checked for React application. We install the create React app application. So next time you create a React application, you don't have to do it. Second, we did install npx create React app, or first name of the application. Then we moved into that application. We started the application. Okay. We discuss npm create versus npx create. So few things that we have noticed. First, we have successfully created our first React application, part one. Part two, I can see something called local and on your network. Local means if I go to any browser, I will type this link. I will be able to see on my local host or on my PC. In my network, any device which is connected to that network or over that Wi-Fi or LAN, whatever you are using, on my website, I can see in multiple devices also, which is really good. Public is a folder in which we find index.html and favicon. So whatever you're seeing, it is given in index.html. So if I delete the comment, I can see and right click, and in fact, you will find just 20 lines of code. There is no refresh after making any changes to my code because I'm running a live development server. And fourth, I remove the comments from HTML file. I see the page source, just 20 lines of code. This 20 line of code is supported by two things: div as a root, and that is providing index.js, which is mapping to app.js. If I delete app.js from my index.js, if I just delete app, where I'm calling the app component from index.js, body will be deleted. These are the four things that we have seen in our first React application. Everybody clear with this? Let me know in the chat. Very basic. We just started with our very first React application, so nothing to worry. And I hope you guys don't get intimidated. We have gone in very slow, right? First React application, how to create step by step, and how are certain things mapped. That is what we have discussed. We're going very slow because this is the first time you are exposed to React. And once you guys pick up, then we'll go quickly on this.